Everyone at the table laughed when my wife joked that I'd traded neurosurgery for
He's going through a
experiments in
phase,
the basement.
Rebecca announced, the champagne in her glass catching the chandelier's light. She was speaking to a table of Wall Street elites, and I was the punchline. He used to be a top neurosurgeon. Now he's experimenting in our basement. The polite laughter that followed cut deeper than any scalpel. I sat there, forcing a smile, just like I had for the last 3 years of these humiliating dinners. It's molecular research, I said quietly. For rare genetic disorders, Rebecca, ever the performer, just smiled. Yes, darling. Very important, I'm sure. None of them knew why I'd traded a 7-figure surgical career for a basement lab. None of them knew about Tyler, our son, who we lost when he was only 6. A rare genetic disorder stole him, leaving a void nothing could fill. Rebecca buried her grief in work, becoming Wall Street's youngest female CEO. I buried mine in research, trying to understand the genetic trap that took our child. For her, my work was a constant, embarrassing reminder of our failure. For me, it was a promise I made to a little boy. 7 years earlier, Tyler had collapsed in our living room. My legs just stopped working, he'd whispered. The diagnosis came swift and brutal. Kaplan-Meier syndrome. No cure, no treatment. Just a countdown. Rebecca demanded a fix, as if money could command miracles. But it couldn't. I was holding our son when he died. Rebecca was in Tokyo, closing a deal. At the funeral, surrounded by her colleagues, I knew our paths had diverged completely. She needed the old Ethan back, the successful surgeon, more than she needed me. So 2 weeks later, I built my lab. She called it insanity. I called it purpose. For years, I taught myself molecular biology, piecing together the genetic puzzle that had doomed Tyler. Then, a breakthrough, a modified virus that could deliver a synthetic protein to damaged neurons. Not a cure, but a chance, Rebecca mocked it. The distance between us grew until she finally slid divorce papers across our dining table. I want my husband back, she whispered, but I couldn't sign them. Instead, I partnered with a geneticist, Dr. Chun, and we started a small biotech company, Neuronova. Progress was real. And then a corporate giant, Meridian Pharmaceuticals, announced a treatment for Kaplan-Meier that looked suspiciously like our own. They had stolen our work. Our small company couldn't afford a legal battle. There was only one person I knew who could outmaneuver a billion-dollar corporation on its own turf. I needed Rebecca. She listened to my story in silence. Then she said, "Come to my office tomorrow. Bring everything." Watching her work was like watching a master surgeon. She was precise, ruthless, brilliant. She discovered Meridian was about to go public. An IPO, if their investors found out they'd stolen research, the whole deal could collapse. So she delivered a quiet threat: partner with us or your IPO dies. 2 weeks later, Meridian surrendered. We had a deal: joint development, shared credit, and affordable access for patients. Rebecca called me. Her voice was soft, something I hadn't heard in years. "It's done," she said. "And Ethan?" I was wrong. We met for dinner at our old spot, the place where we got engaged. We were no longer a CEO and a failed surgeon. We were just 2 grieving parents learning to speak again. "I pushed you away because I couldn't bear to hope," she confessed. "It hurt too much to imagine saving someone else's child when we couldn't save ours." Months later, at a gala announcing the clinical trials, I stood on stage. The speaker called me the unsung genius whose work may save thousands, but I was only looking at Rebecca. Her colleagues, the same ones who'd mocked my basement lab, now stared at her with respect. She just offered me a small, proud smile. Later that night in the car, she squeezed my hand. "They all thought you were crazy," she said. "Turns out you were just ahead of everyone." When we got home, she looked at the divorce papers still sitting on the desk. "I think we should burn them," she whispered. I didn't disagree. On what would have been Tyler's 13th birthday, we stood by his grave. Early trial results were coming in. Children were stabilizing. Some were improving. "You know what the real revenge was?" Rebecca said softly. "Not proving them wrong. Not the success." She looked at me, her eyes full of something fragile and new. "The real revenge was beating the disease that took our son." For the first time in years, her hand found mine. and for the first time in years, I felt whole.